Becca and welcome to one of those reading challenges that you've probably seen around because I want to jump on the bandwagon, and it's reading for 24 hours. I am going to set a timer on my iPad. I'm going to start it when I'm reading, stop it when I'm not reading, and see how long it takes me to read for 24 hours. I have had 2 books arrive on my doorstep today, and they are 2 of my anticipated releases, and I am very excited to read them. So this one is a young adult Robin Hood adjacent retelling, and it's also a sapphic, so female-female romance. It's young adult, if I haven't said that already. So it's not usually what I reach for, but I know that Lex Croucher writes such fantastic dialogue, and I'm so excited at this rom-com. It's also blurbed by Casey McQuiston, whom I really enjoy as well, and I recently did a reading guide author taste test video for all of their books as well, so I'm super excited to get into this. I've also got this one by Nina Kenwood, and she's an Australian author. She writes rom-com as well, so both 2 colourful, exciting books that I'm hoping to finish during the 24 hours of reading that I'm doing in the next, I don't know, week, couple of days, who knows? I've realised I don't really know how to measure this challenge. I'm counting each day that I sit down and read as, you know, day 1. Yesterday I read just under an hour's worth of time, so if I don't read anything today and then I read something tomorrow, I'll count tomorrow as day 2, so that way I can count each day that I read, and that will give me the total at the end of how many days I read for 24 hours. I think I'm just overcomplicating it. Anyway, I started this one and I'm really enjoying myself, and I need to read you some of the dialogue on the first chapter because this really just sets the tone of what kind of fun story this is. This is how the story begins. It says, "The morning the merry men came for old Rosie, Clem was trying to put a hat on a fox. She felt quite bad about this later. At the time it had seemed important. The fox had become tame enough to take scraps of meat and twists of hide directly from her hand, and putting a hat on him was the next logical step." It just, like, Clem is great. I'm really enjoying her. She's so chaotic but wholesome, and she's been kidnapped by the merry men because she's a healer, and they're trying to send a message to the person that she got kidnapped from, which is Rosie, and I guess in there trying to teach her a lesson, she just gets caught up in all of their shenanigans. And Mariel is the leader of the group of teens that make up the merry men, and they're not the only faction of the merry men, they're just a small collective, and they've now kidnapped Clem, and she's just wrapped up in getting to know all of them and realizing that the magic behind the merry men's escapades is not as magic as she thought, and she probably should have listened to her adopted grandmother Rosie this whole time about how they're not actually that great, they're just people, you know, they don't deserve all of the accolades that everyone says about them all the time. But Clem is caught up with the whole idea of donning a green cloak, becoming one of the merry men, and enacting escapades. So she's got an imagination, she's got a mouth that won't shut up, and it's great to read about because her love interest Mariel is like the grumpy, must follow the rules, must get everyone in line kind of character who has outbursts and is impulsively angry, but then Clem is just like, let's go with the flow, I'll just figure it out as I go. And so to see both of these 2 characters come together is just going to be so good. I'm looking forward to them eventually building trust. I've only read 52 pages and already I'm enjoying myself. It's probably a 3.5 to a 4 stars. It depends on how the rest of the story goes. But the fact that I read 52 pages in under an hour is making me think, oh, I can read a lot during the 24-hour time bracket that this is setting up. So who knows, after I finish this and the wedding forecast, I might pick up some other stuff as well. I have an update for you. I now have roughly 15-16 hours left of this challenge, and I didn't want to update you every single time I had a thought because that seemed like a lot of footage to edit. So I'm here now, and I'm here to report that I finished some things. So I gave this one a 4 stars, and I surprisingly teared up in this book. I got a little bit emotional towards the end, and it felt very like realistic with high stakes, and I enjoyed the relationships and the discussions in here, specifically around Mariel and her character arc, because she's so cordoned off emotionally from everyone, and so I liked seeing her reach out to people in her own way and see her friends recognize that and try and reach back. It was beautiful, and again, I just love Clem's banter as well and her narration style, so it was funny but also emotional, and I really like that mixture in a book. It felt heavy at times as well, so it definitely pulled off the right feelings, and I had a great time with this one. And then I finished this, and I should have updated you earlier, but I felt like I needed to have a bigger picture of this before I told you about it. So it's about Anna, who's just turned 30. She's left a relationship with her longtime partner Joel. They were together for 8 years, and so their relationship has really defined her. So she's really struggling after their breakup, and she's now at the wedding of her best friend, or like the lead up to the wedding of her best friend. And her best friend Hayley and Hayley's partner Luke, they are still, you know, close with Joel. They've all basically grown up together. And Hayley and Anna, our main character, they have grown up together because their mums were so close, and so they're trying to replicate almost their mother's friendships and how close they were, and how their mums hit a lot of milestones together. But now Anna's not in a relationship anymore, so, you know, they're kind of diverging on those paths, but still quite close as friends, obviously. And so they're at obviously the wedding lead up and the wedding itself, and then just after the wedding, and Anna has to confront Joel. Well, not confront Joel, but he's also part of the bridal party as the best man, and he turns up to the house where all of the bridal party are staying, and he's brought his new girlfriend. And the bombshell in the blurb that is not mentioned is that this new girlfriend is pregnant, and the reason that Anna and Joel broke up was because Joel didn't want kids, but now he's going to be excited about having a child with this new girlfriend that he's had for like 5 months. So Anna is rightly heartbroken, and she talks to the overseas friend that has come to visit. So he's from Australia, but he's moved overseas to pursue acting, and he's come back obviously for the wedding because Luke is his best mate. And so Anna starts confiding a little bit in Mac and is, you know, following their romance. And I was like, ooh, is this going to be a getting back together homewrecker situation with Joel? Because personally, I hated him. The fact that they broke up and then he's gone and had a child with somebody else, I was like, you're already trash. I hate him. And I really like how this balanced all of these feelings that Anna was having in a mature way, but also in a romantic comedy way. So it was supposed to be ridiculous and laughable, but she was also processing very real feelings. And I think the balance of that narration style was pulled off. I think it was done very well. And that's a very fine line to walk. I also really enjoyed her friendship with Hayley, and how even though they were best friends and they knew each other inside and out, it wasn't always sunshine and rainbows, but it didn't stay bad. And they actually talked about things, and I just really like that about them too. So it had great friendships. It also was almost a love letter to bookshops and booksellers, because Anna is very much around books. She loves books. She's a novelist. And usually I also hate books and novelist characters in books that I'm reading. I don't know what it is. Some people probably love it. I hate it. And it takes a very specific outlier for me to like it, and I can't even describe what that is. But this book also did it justice. So I'm like, I hate the surprise pregnancy trope, which is what the girlfriend was for Joel, and I also hate the books and novelist archetype. But somehow this book was successful, and I also teared up a little bit too. So, you know, it made me emotional, it made me laugh, it was fun and readable and very quick to read too. So I gave it 4 stars, and I'm just surprised, but in a great way. Now, like I said, I'll put some footage of the iPad in because I don't have it on me, but I've got roughly 16 hours left to finish more books, and I am not entirely certain on what I'm going to settle on to read next. Part of me thinks The Tainted Cup, that I should get a move on with finishing this, because it's been on my to be read pile since August, which is a bit ridiculous. But then also part of me is like, read a short book. Just read a short book and finish something else. And I've got the next volume of Lore Olympus here, and I said a couple of months ago that I wasn't going to continue reading this, so I've been hesitant about this, but apparently, according to the synopsis, which I can't say too much about because obviously it's into the series now, but I was worried that the previous volumes were taking Persephone's character in a direction I wasn't a fan of, but this volume seems to suggest that it's not going to go the course I thought it might. So I have hope that this won't crash and burn, which is why I bought it, but will I be proven wrong? I don't know. So this is going to be a lot quicker to finish than The Tainted Cup, because I've not even got halfway through this, and this is a fantasy book that has a lot of detail to it. So I'm like, do I? I also have been listening to audiobooks during this vlog, but I haven't mentioned them because I feel like the point of this reading challenge for me personally is to read more physically, and that's what I want to do more of in my day, so that's what I'm making time to do. I have an update for you. Hello. It has been a few days since I updated this vlog, and in those few days I completed Law Olympus, which is volume 6, and I talk about this in my September wrap up. So this challenge has actually taken me a lot longer than I thought. It's actually really hard to read for 24 hours, and I've gone for this challenge for more than a week now, and I'm finding it just difficult if I'm being honest. We've still got plenty of time left, like 14 hours, but for some reason I'm really struggling to physically read. To try and bridge that gap, I've finally continued my read of The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett, and I'm now over 80% into it. So I have done some good hours and mileage on The Tainted Cup. So for that reason, I'm pretty happy. And I'm also enjoying it, which surprised me. I thought after putting it down in August and then waiting this long to pick it back up again that I wasn't going to like it anymore because I'd had a bit of distance and kind of gathered my thoughts. But then I went back into it and I'm like, oh, okay, it's actually not so bad. I'm liking it more than Foundry Side, but less than City of Stairs. So I gave Foundry Side a 3 and City of Stairs a 5. So at least I've got kind of a ballpark of where I sit with this book, and the mystery at the center of it is intriguing me, and so is our main character Din, because he's an engraver, so he can basically remember things like he has a photographic memory, but he needs to associate it with a scent whenever he does it. So it's not oh yeah, he's walked into a room and memorized every single face. He smells like a mint vial or a lavender vial, and then he can recall that memory when he smells the scent later. So it's got a bit more nuance than you initially expect it to, and I like that his character is getting development as well as Anna, who he reports to, and she's very eccentric. And I initially was like, I wasn't sure about her, I was a bit thrown, but I like their dynamic so far, and I like how the small mansion murder that was almost cozy mystery has now exploded into something else, and there have been more murders that are similar, and there's obviously a political undertone and plot happening that they're trying to solve. So I like how it's gone from like this to this, and I wasn't sure if I was going to like that, but clearly if I've read 80%, I'm enjoying myself. So I'm not loving it, but I'm enjoying it, and I'll take that as a win. But then I did something stupid, and that was I got excited about Witches Get Stuff Done, which was on my October to be read video, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna have the audiobook, this is gonna be great. But then I looked at Libby again and I realized that that title is on Notify Me for the ebook, so apparently I can't read, which is ironic. So I might end up just getting the ebook on my Kindle, because for some reason ebooks from Libby, they don't talk to my Kindle, they only talk to Kobo or something ridiculous. So I might just go and get the ebook of Witches Get Stuff Done, and that way I can actually read it like I said I was going to, and it will also add to this challenge of actually physically reading, like reading with my eyes instead of my ears. So that might be my next read, but I've also got A Tempest of Tea, which is on my October to be read video as well. You can tell how long this challenge has stretched. It's obviously been through September and now into October, because I just keep not physically reading as often as I would like to. I still make time for it, but it is definitely less than is in previous years. So those are the books that I'm going to continue with: The Tainted Cup, Witches Get Stuff Done, and Tempest and Tea. And I will then check in at a later date and let you know how each of those go and how my time is going. Okay, so I'm bringing this vlog to a close. I still have 13 hours left, which is a little bit disappointing, but I've also got a work trip coming up in the next few days, so I can't continue doing this vlog because I need to wrap it up and go away. So that's why there's still some time left, but I think in the time I had, I read a decent amount. I wish I read more, but I'm glad at what I have read, if that makes sense. So I finished The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett, and I gave it a 3 stars, and I think that's because I struggled to emotionally connect to it, even though it is a intriguing story. It just didn't grip me emotionally, whereas in The City of Stairs, I was invested emotionally in the characters, I was invested in the plot, and I loved the world building, but in this, I just didn't, and I think that means I need to call it with Robert Jackson Bennett, because I started out with City of Stairs, which I gave 5 stars, and I've been chasing a 5 stars ever since, and it's really not working out for me, so I think I just needed to call it quits here. This is his newest release as well, so it is his updated writing, and of all of his works, I think this one was closest to City of Stairs in terms of the intrigue and the corruption and the investigation, so I think I've scratched that itch. I'm done, I finished it, I succeeded in finishing it, and now I need to move on. And I'm also currently reading something else, and I was hoping to finish it over the next few days and squeeze it into the end of this challenge, but it didn't quite work out that way because obviously I'm going away shortly. And that is Powerless, and this one is about a magical trial and ordinaries who don't have magic, and they're very much shunned by society. So there's a magical trial every year, I think, for the royal bloodlines and the noble houses and that kind of thing, to showcase their powers, and our main character gets caught up in it and submitted to the trials even though she isn't ordinary, and she's trying to pretend not to be. So everyone thinks she's a psychic, but she's obviously not. And there's more to this story, but honestly I'm just getting a little bit annoyed at the style of writing. These characters are just annoying, and I find that even though the world building has potential and the story has potential as well for me to enjoy it, I'm just getting so frustrated at the style of writing in here, and I'm 36 pages in and I know I should put it down now. Like, I really should DNF it right this second, but if you're given a book, you kind of need to finish it. So I feel very much stuck on this. I'll give it more pages, like I will try and read it, but if I find that I'm actively avoiding sitting down and reading and this is the problem, then I'm gonna put it down and save myself. So that is really where this vlog ends, which is kind of a 13 hours still to go and a maybe book that might deflect my reading from actually happening. So, you know, from productivity all this time to, yeah, nah, maybe we'll turn around and ignore reading. What a turn in this vlog. But I want to hope for the best. I know what I'm like. I'm probably gonna put this down, but I'm gonna try my best and see what happens. And I'm also really happy that I finally finished The Tainted Cup, because I've been reading that for like 8 or 9 weeks and it's finally done. So I'm considering that an overall success, and I can pretty much end this vlog happy that I finished The Tainted Cup. That was my bare minimum. That's what I wanted to achieve. So thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know if you could read for 24 hours, because I found it really, really difficult. At the beginning I did say that I was counting the amount of days that I was reading for, but I really lost track. I'm gonna estimate it at like 10 or 12, maybe a little bit more, because I don't read for as long on those days. It's not like I'm doing 5 or 6 hours a day, you know, I might do like 1 hour or half an hour. So it has taken me a while to get through this. Obviously I've still got that 13 hours left, so I'll continue reading this and I'll let you know how it goes in another video. If you want to catch up with what I'm reading on a weekly basis, I've got a separate playlist which I will link for you down below. But thank you again so much for watching this video. I'll come chat to you down below in the comments, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.